What's going on, YouTube? Coming back at you with another video. So we have a real interesting situation going on. AFRIKA, BAMBAATAA, and the Zulu Nation are now named in this new lawsuit by a John Doe plaintiff. This actually speaks of some alleged disgusting, horrible acts. You have to remember at this point, this is all alleged, but this is the new paperwork. I'm going to break it down for you. We'll skip some of this stuff and we'll just get into what actually is important or what is being claimed in this. So it says from 1991, when the plaintiff was merely 12 years old, to 1995, the plaintiff was repeatedly sexually abused and sex trafficked at the hands of defendant Lance Taylor. For those of you who don't know, Lance Taylor is AFRIKA BAMBAATAA's real name. It says, as a result of the passage of the CVA, Child Victims Act, plaintiff for the first time in his life can now pursue restorative justice. Plaintiff brings suit to vindicate his rights. So it goes down, the parties involved in this. You can read this, pause it if you want while I'm scrolling. I'll scroll slowly. But we'll get down to some more of this interesting stuff. We'll get right here. At all relevant times, plaintiff resided at Bronx River Houses, public housing provided by the New York City Housing Authority. At all relevant times, defendant Lance Taylor resided at Bronx River House is public housing provided by the New York City Housing Authority. At all times relevant, defendant Zulu Nation, Universal Zulu Nation, and XYZ Corp. Were headquartered inside defendant Taylor's apartment located at Bronx River Housing. Upon information and belief at all relevant times, defendant Taylor was a well-known disc jockey, rapper, songwriter, music producer who is universally considered the father of hip-hop. Upon information and belief, defendant Taylor was the founder of Zulu Nation, Universal Zulu Nation, and XYZ Corp., international hip-hop awareness organizations. Upon information and belief at all relevant times, defendant's apartment within BRH was known as the Zulu Nation headquarters. Upon information and belief at all relevant times, defendant's apartment within Bronx River Housing was known as the Universal Zulu Nation headquarters. Upon information and belief at all relevant times, defendant's apartment within the BRH was known as XYX Corp headquarters. Upon information and belief, plaintiff met defendant Taylor in 1991. Upon information and belief, plaintiff was 12 years old when he met defendant Taylor. Upon information and belief, shortly after meeting defendant Taylor, plaintiff became a card-carrying member of defendant Zulu Nation and began attending Zulu Nation meetings at the Bronx River Housing Community Center. Upon information and belief, shortly after meeting defendant Taylor, plaintiff became a card-carrying member of defendant Universal Zulu Nation and began attending Universal Zulu Nation meetings at Bronx River Housing Community Center. Upon information and belief, shortly after meeting defendant Taylor, plaintiff became a card-carrying member of defendant XYZ Corp. And began attending XYZ Corp. Meetings at BRH Community Center. Upon information and belief, plaintiff became a part of defendant Taylor's security team. Upon information and belief, shortly after plaintiff met defendant Taylor, plaintiff began to volunteer performing administrative work inside defendant Taylor's apartment, which was known as the Zulu Nation headquarters. Upon information and belief, shortly after plaintiff met defendant Taylor, plaintiff began to volunteer performing administrative work inside defendant Taylor's apartment, which was also known as Universal Zulu Nation headquarters. Upon information and belief, shortly after plaintiff met defendant Taylor, plaintiff began to volunteer performing administrative work inside defendant Taylor's apartment, which was also known as XYZ Corp. Upon information and belief, defendant Taylor would invite plaintiff to his apartment, known as Zulu Nation's headquarters, several times a week, and encourage plaintiff to exercise at the gym located within defendant Taylor's apartment. Upon information and belief, at all relevant times, defendant Taylor would comment about plaintiff's muscular body and would touch plaintiff on shoulders, biceps, and torso while plaintiff was exercising at defendant's gym. Upon information and belief at all relevant times, defendant Taylor eventually began to inappropriately touch plaintiff in his private areas while plaintiff was in defendant Taylor's apartment. Upon information and belief at all relevant times, defendant Taylor eventually encouraged plaintiff to watch pornographic videos while in defendant Taylor's apartment, and would also encourage plaintiff to masturbating in the presence of defendant Taylor while watching pornographic videos in defendant Taylor's apartment. Eventually, defendant Taylor began masturbating in the presence of the plaintiff. Upon information and belief, the sexual abuse at the hands of defendant Taylor progressed to mutual masturbation. Upon information and belief, during plaintiff's visits to defendant Taylor's apartment, defendant Taylor's sexual abuse of plaintiff progressed to sodomy. Upon information and belief, plaintiff became a victim of sex trafficking, as defendant Taylor would transport plaintiff to other locations and offer plaintiff for sex to other adult men. During said encounters, defendant Taylor would watch as plaintiff was sodomized by other adult men. This is absolutely disgusting. But you have to remember, this is all alleged. But there's been a lot of allegations like this towards AFRIKA BAMBAATAA. So to me, in my opinion, where there's smoke, there's fire. But still, this has to go through the court process. So we'll see. Upon information and belief, the aforementioned events and actions took place between 1991 and 1995. As a direct result of the defendant Taylor's criminal conduct described herein, plaintiff suffered physical injury, severe and permanent emotional distress, mental anguish, depression, and embarrassment. Plaintiff was prevented from obtaining the full enjoyment of life and has been unable to keep a steady job. As a result, plaintiff has incurred loss of income and or loss of earning capacity. Upon information and belief, plaintiff only informed his mother of the aforementioned events while in his 30s. So we'll skip some of this. I'll go slow if you want to read it, and then I'll read the next part. It says, plaintiff repeats, reiterates, and realleges each and every allegation contained in those paragraphs of the complaint, marked and designated 1 through 40, inclusively with the same force and effect as in hereafter was set forth at length. From 1991 to 1995, plaintiff was invited to the defendant's apartment, located in BRH, where he was repeatedly subjected to sexual abuse, consisting of mutual masturbation and sodomy. During the same time period, plaintiff was transported by defendant Taylor to other locations and offered for sex to other adult men in exchange for money. Defendant Taylor's intentional sexual assault of plaintiff was for his own sexual gratification without regard for the plaintiff's well-being. You can read the rest of this. I think we pretty much got through all of this. This is pretty deep though. AFRIKA BAMBAATAA, again, being accused of some horrible, disgusting acts. I got to be honest with you. Again, this has to go through the court process in order for it to be, relevant, whether or not the court finds AFRIKA BAMBAATAA guilty. But based on all the things that I've seen and all the claims that I've heard from multiple different people, it would seem to me where there's smoke, there's fire. And hopefully, if this is true, AFRIKA BAMBAATAA does, lose this lawsuit. It's sad to me, however, that AFRIKA BAMBAATAA is not rotting away in a jail cell where I believe he belongs. If these allegations are true, and some of the other allegations that we've heard from other people are true, this is a complete monster. This guy is a sexual deviant, allegedly, and he needs to face consequences for his crimes. These are the kind of crimes that people end up doing 20, 30, 40 years, life in prison behind. And the fact that AFRIKA BAMBAATAA is still out here when all of these things seemingly possibly occurred, it's not a good look at all. I think that everybody in the world has a chance at forgiveness if they repent for their sins. I don't see AFRIKA BAMBAATAA repenting for any of these alleged sins. I don't know, again, that these are actually true. We will find out what the court rules in this case. But my opinion and the way that I look at it, AFRIKA BAMBAATAA is likely probably guilty, and he definitely deserves extreme and severe punishment behind these crimes. That's just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, though. Hit the like, subscribe, share, leave some feedback. Make sure you ring the notification bell if you're subscribed so you get updates, my future videos when they drop. I'm going to pin a link to my new YouTube channel, Truth Disciple TV. The top link is going to take you right there. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Also, I'm going to pin a link to a dope Bible reading. If you have trouble reading the Bible, make sure you click the second link I'm going to pin. It's done amazing things in my life. Hopefully it can do the same in yours. I appreciate you watching. Peace.